Well, I guess it's time to check in on our friends over in Ann Arbor and see what's going on with this absolute train wreck that is the Michigan cheating scandal. We've got multiple reports coming in yesterday. Everyone kind of figured, well, it's going to be over now. The Big Ten, they agree to stop their investigation into Michigan. Harbaugh agrees to the 3-game suspension. Of course, it is funny because the entire narrative coming out of Michigan last week was that they need their day in court. This is unjust. It's not right. You should have to prove this. And then apparently the Big Ten showed Harbaugh and Michigan evidence, and there was supposed to be a hearing on Friday, or maybe it was Thursday, that Harbaugh and Michigan thought maybe they could get the suspension down to 2 games, because my original thought was it was probably going to be a 2-game suspension. They go for the 3-game suspension, which means he's missing the Ohio State game, which is a big deal. You know, obviously the head coach doesn't play in the game, but still not having Harbaugh for that huge of a matchup is a big problem for Michigan. So they wanted to try and reduce it, but then apparently they realized the Big Ten had just received more information on their serial cheating, and they were like, all right, we're not going to do this. Let's just get them to stop investigating us. We'll deal with the 3-game suspension, and then we will focus on dealing with whatever the NCAA doles out. Who knows? I mean, it's anyone's best guess. You would think the NCAA in the offseason would come out with a ruling. They've been known to take a while, but this does seem like a pretty substantial thing to where you would like some type of ruling from the NCAA. Is it vacated wins? Is it something else? We will see probably, or most definitely in the offseason, and it does seem like at this point, unless some crazy bombshell comes out, Michigan is just going to have Harbaugh suspended. If they lose to Ohio State, they'll probably be in a random New Year's Six bowl and then fade into irrelevancy if Harbaugh gets fired. If they beat Ohio State, it does become a bit of a problem for college football, because if they win the national title, obviously all of their fans, of course, they should love that, but a lot of college football is going to think that's tainted, and it's just not a good look for the sport. You can see this coming out, Yahoo Sports interview. Michigan booster Tim Smith denies involvement in sign-stealing probe, claiming he's a scapegoat, and refutes he's Uncle T. So yes, apparently, and we all knew this was going to come out. How else could this entire cheating operation that's extremely widespread, that everybody in that program knew about, how could this cheating scandal happen under the salary of Connor Stalions? Because think about it, the first argument was, oh, Connor Stalions is a crazy kook. He's a lone wolf. He's on a salary of $50,000. Do you really think he can fund something like this? Absolutely not. Obviously, it was coming from some independent booster, and apparently that booster is Uncle T, and now Uncle T wants to lie, and it's just pathetic at this point. Today, Michigan's NIL collective removed him as a member, but he wants to go and act like he's innocent. There are people wanting to throw some under the bus. That's what he said. These people cannot stop lying. It's lies on top of lies on top of lies. Connor Stalions was a lone wolf. How about the Central Michigan thing? I still can't get over that. So Central Michigan, and this is just me speculating, but in all likelihood, they were somehow involved in this cheating scandal. What else is going on to where it takes this long to identify if that's Connor Stalions or not? Does Central Michigan at this point just want everyone to forget about it? Is that the whole idea? But originally it was, oh, Connor Stalions and nobody within Michigan staff was going to any of these games. They were paying people and it was a loophole. Then you see Connor Stalions on the Central Michigan sideline. Michigan fans immediately deny it. Then it turns out, yeah, it's probably him, but he's a lone wolf. You can see this came out. Why was Chris Partridge fired? Michigan football dismisses linebackers coach amid scandal. So yes, a linebackers coach on a team that's unbeaten, that has one of the best defenses in college football. Why did he get fired? Well, according to a report from Yahoo, which came approximately 30 minutes before the announcement, Partridge allegedly participated in the destruction of evidence on a computer after the initial news of the sign-stealing situation surfaced. It's very obvious this dude at least knew something in relation to what Connor Stalions was doing. It's also interesting, this is like his first year with Michigan, so you think he's really the only one. This is completely widespread within their program. And whether Michigan wants to say other teams are cheating, other teams are doing this, that, this is a situation that is, at this point, independent to Michigan. We do not know of other teams that are sending people, especially someone that's on their staff, to go to opposing teams' sidelines to spy on them. I mean, we haven't seen a single instance where that is the case. So for Michigan, now the question becomes, Harbaugh, he's getting the 3-game suspension. He's got 2 games remaining on it. What else is going to come out when it comes to this entire scandal? I'm sure it wasn't just one booster funding it. This, apparently, if you read message boards, it's a complete widespread acceptance. And my theory is that the boosters got really fed up with Michigan, especially the 2020 season. They were going into that Ohio State game as 30-point underdogs. They faked COVID to get out of it, and we're all sick, we can't play, it's just a coincidence, we're 30-point underdogs, but don't have this as a loss against our resume. That they end up faking it. Oh yeah, they're real sick, they're only 30-point underdogs, and then in 2021 they blatantly start cheating. I think they were very desperate, and it's not just against Ohio State, it was against pretty much everyone, including Purdue. And that's why Michigan fans really didn't understand, why would you cheat against Purdue? But if you listen to Purdue's head coach, I think they were just so obsessed with cheating, like it's an emotional high, like, oh yeah, look at us, look at what we're doing, and it gets normalized because they're like, listen, all these SEC teams are cheating, and they are, but they're just cheating in a different way. Pretty much every major program at this point, according to recruiting rules, is cheating with NIL, blatant misuse of that. Texas A&M, I mean, my goodness, if you want to talk about fairness, they should probably have a 2-decade bowl ban for what they did in 2022, but that kind of falls under the whole player empowerment, like, oh, players should be able to make money anyways, good for Texas A&M for paying them, so it's like that cheating is accepted. I can certainly understand Michigan fans being angry at that, but still, this is just something that you can't do. And now even Michigan fans are starting to admit, and they're saying, listen, our program's off the rails. We accept a 5-year, maybe even a decade-long bowl ban. We will vacate all the wins over the past 3 or 4 years. And they're really starting to come to the realization that this is all happening because stuff just keeps leaking out. It's not stopping. Even after you would think, okay, the Harbaugh situation is calming down, maybe they'll have the hearing. It seemed like Michigan was very optimistic that they would get the suspension reduced to 2 games until the Big Ten got more evidence on the situation, and Harbaugh was like, you know what, we're going to back off. They tried to frame it and say, oh, we came to an agreement, and the Big Ten puts out their statement and says, no, they backed off because we had more information on them and their cheating ring, and they said, yes, we'll do the 3-game suspension, please stop investigating us, we want to take care of one thing at a time. And now Michigan, they're going to have to pay by Harbaugh not being on the sidelines against Ohio State. Obviously, the cheating is all over. Imagine if Michigan tried to cheat again and just send people. Listen, I would respect that. You really would have to respect something like that. Imagine if Michigan just one of their boosters just hires someone and says, just go on their sideline. They're not going to expect us to cheat again. They're not going to change signals again. Go on the sideline for the Minnesota game against Ohio State. That would be honorable. That really would. That's a true Michigan man. Yes. But guys, when it comes to this scandal, look, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if they're going to get wins vacated, if they're going to get bowl banned. I would imagine Harbaugh is not going to be back next year. I mean, it's just a bad look for college football, and especially if Michigan does make the playoff. Will they? I mean, right now you'd have to say they're favorites against Ohio State, but losing Harbaugh, it kind of is a big deal. I mean, losing your head, like, obviously he doesn't play. We get it. It's the same roster, but still, it's not nothing. It certainly is not nothing losing your leader going into your biggest game. Michigan also going to be without Harbaugh. And then the whole interim head coach at the end of the game. Did you guys, what was that, against Penn State on the road? Yeah, last week. They asked the interim coach, they're like, why did you cheat? That's what they asked him at the end of the game. And he starts bawling, crying. He's like, I'm sorry we cheated. I feel so bad. I love Jim Harbaugh. And he's just bawling, crying, saying how much he loves Jim Harbaugh, saying, yes, we cheated. We're sorry. The whole thing is a mess. And it keeps getting deeper and deeper, and obviously this was a massive operation. They've already reported that Michigan people, whether Michigan hired these people or it was Connor Stallions and one of his buddies, they went to around 30 plus different games. Do we really think Connor Stallions or the University of Michigan is funding that? Number one, Michigan is not stupid enough to have that paper trail tied back to them. It's gonna be some big booster, and in comes Big Uncle T. Wow. listen, I don't know if it's Uncle T or someone else, but I'm sure they were getting help from some independent booster that would not tie the money trail back to the university. It has to be an independent booster. But then again, Michigan's done some pretty stupid stuff, so maybe it was tied back to the university. Either way, Michigan now, I'm guessing their defensive coordinator is going to be getting fired very soon. Obviously, he knew about this. I mean, listen, if you are Jim Harbaugh, the one thing that you can, well, actually, there did seem to be that one video of Harbaugh on the sideline against Michigan State getting marching orders from Connor Stallions, so maybe he doesn't get that excuse. But I was going to say, I mean, we saw Michigan's defensive coordinator, Jesse Minter, literally just sit like a puppy dog and wait for Connor Stallions to tell him exactly what Ohio State was calling. Obviously, he knew Connor Stallions was doing something in terms of getting those plays, especially if you're going to be, calling the exact signs that early into the game. So either way, that is the update on the Michigan scandal. Harbaugh will be back, possibly for the Big Ten championship if Michigan makes it. He will be allowed because this is a regular season thing. It does not go into postseason play or the Big Ten championship, so he could be back, although that's really anecdotal, whether it's Michigan or Ohio State. They're very likely going to be about 20-point favorites against Iowa, and then Harbaugh will be back for whatever bowl game, whether it is the playoff or another New Year's Six. But that's going to do it for this video. Make sure you're following me on X. Link to that's always in the description.